Seward, Alaska, is a major commercial and transportation hub on the Cook Inlet. Fishing boats flow in and out of the port. Helicopters fly overhead, serving offshore oil rigs, and Black Hawks from nearby military bases conduct training at all hours. But these earthly vessels and aircraft aren't alone in Alaska, where extraterrestrial occurrences seem constant. One sighting not far from the city over a decade ago was so unbelievable, yet seen by so many, that residents still speak of it in whispers to this day.
I'm Bill Sleesman. I live in Seward, Alaska. I work for a fish processing plant, and I'm the dock manager. I unload salmon out of Resurrection Bay. I've been in Alaska since 1984, almost 36 years, I guess. Spent my whole life outside working outdoors.
But there's something ominous that comes with the territory, too.
I don't believe we're alone in the universe. The native cultures, and if they say they've been seeing things for years, such as Bigfoot, UFOs, or whatever. I've never seen a Bigfoot, but I have seen some people call them UFOs. I've seen them with my own eyes. They're out there.
Bill's encounter happened many years ago, but it's etched in his memory forever.
I was sitting in my log cabin. It was just before dark, and it was still daylight. And I heard this military helicopter, so I went out with my binoculars in my hand to investigate what was going on out there. What was strange to me, that there's absolutely no markings on this Black Hawk helicopter. No white writing, no letters, no nothing, completely blacked out. Looked at them for quite a while, seeing if I could figure out what they were doing. They were just sitting there hovering.
That was strange enough. But what Bill saw next as he headed back for the cabin would rattle him to the core.
It was like a starship. The thing was huge. Probably 1,500 to 2,000 feet long, probably 400, 500, 600 feet across, probably 300, 350 feet in air. It was big. It was beautiful. It was kind of a gray-silver color.
And it was close enough that Bill could make out details underneath.
It had kind of a diamond-type crystal right in the middle of the bottom of it that was emitting blue and white reddish lights. I sat there and looked at it, went, oh my God. I've been under a super tanker on a fishing boat, and this thing dwarfed the super tanker. And it was just sitting there hovering within a quarter mile of my house, or less.
As Bill stared at the craft, mesmerized, something weird started happening to his body.
I felt this strange feeling, almost like an energy-type power thing. And I wasn't sure what it was. I'd never felt it before, but it almost felt like my body was kind of humming. At that point, after I looked at it for a few minutes, I went into my house. I called my neighbors up and asked them, hey, would you do me a favor? Tell me I'm not crazy and look over the top of my house and tell me if you see what I think I'm seeing. They told me that, yes, they did. They were in shock also. And then I hung up with them, went out, set my chair in the yard, and sat there and watched it for hours.
The next thing Bill knew, he was waking up inside.
I don't actually remember the thing leaving. All I know is that I was back in my house. I don't remember all of it.
Bill lost several hours of time that night, common with alien abductions. But there's one thing he's sure of. Whatever he saw that night was not of this world, and plenty of other people saw it too.
The next morning when I was going to work in Soldotna, we were listening to KSRM radio on sound off, and there were people all over the area reporting seeing lights last night. And I had no doubt at that time that that was the same thing that I'd sat and watched for probably an hour and a half.
I'm Bob Bird. I'm from Nikiski, Alaska, and I'm a radio talk show host. This community is rather large. We have 40,000 people in our immediate trading area. As a result, the show Sound Off takes calls on almost any topic. That night, hundreds of people saw it. Strange lights over Cook Inlet. The lights would hover, they would move horizontally, they would move vertically. They cast reflections on the inlet waters, and was seen by hundreds of people. Bruce is on the line, and Bruce, you're live on the Bird's Eye View.
I'm looking out the window, I see these lights through the trees, and I'm thinking, what the hell would that be?
And then what happened?
Well, they just went by, and that was it.
You are live on the Bird's Eye View.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned I saw some strange lights over Tustamina. Would have been between about midnight-ish, at least it was like midnight to 1 a.m. So it was lights moving in the strange pattern that I'd never seen before.
Now, we do have oil platforms, but they are nowhere near where these lights were seen or even in their direction. Of course, helicopters come and go for the servicing of the oil platforms, but the folks that I spoke with who actually saw it said they could not figure out the speed and maneuverability of the lights. Certainly had nothing to do with the helicopter. Any single person can be mistaken, but when, there's all the citizens who live in the bluff are reporting the same thing, you have to give it some sort of credibility.
There were a lot of people on the Kenai Peninsula that saw this. Nobody really offered any theories. I never asked about it because, back 30 years ago, people will label you as, he's crazy.
Bill suspects the truth is out there, but that the government is holding its secrets close to the vest.
The military guys that were in that helicopter, it had to be military, and it was apparent to me that they were following this UFO and they were tracking it. I can understand our government not wanting to tell people because a lot of people do not want to believe, but they're out there. Trust me, I've seen them. They do exist. The reason I'd think that Alaska would have as many UFO sightings as they have had, it's a really, really big state. There's lots of places to hide. If they don't want you to see them, you aren't going to see them.
He challenges anyone who thinks that spaceship was just a figment of imagination.
I'm here to tell you, this thing was real. It was very large, and I was kind of stunned, and it was just sitting there hovering with no sound. I saw it with my own eyes. Seeing is believing, and this was the first I've ever seen anything like that. I've seen lights in the sky and stuff like that. Blew it off as satellites or airplane or something else, but nothing that I ever was concerned about. But I saw what I saw, and that's the way it is, and